With all the hype around Big Navi, there's a question on a lot of people's minds right now. Is it just going to be a paper launch? Can I actually get one? Because that was a big issue with Nvidia's 30 series. Try to get a 3080, 3090 at launch. Good luck. Did you get one? Let me know in the comments. Some people were lucky. Let's talk about it. Why don't you hit the like button on this video? I'm just starting out this YouTube channel. That's going to help me become more visible in the YouTube search algorithm. And if you're interested in PC and technology related content like I am, subscribe to the channel and you won't miss a video. Thanks. So why don't we start this discussion with Nvidia? Because that's where I think a lot of these worries are coming from. Why was it so hard to get an Nvidia card at launch? A lot of people were sitting there trying to get one at launch and all the stores are shutting down, can't get anything. Even if you get one in the cart, you might not get the order to go through. It felt really bad for a lot of people, so bad that Nvidia released apologies, said they'd have plans for how to make that better in time for maybe the 3070 launch, that kind of a thing. And what we've seen from that is I think Nvidia gave up, at least from selling on their own online store. Now you have to get Nvidia cards, the Founders Editions, by the way. I mean, you still get the board partners elsewhere, but the Founders Edition cards directly made by Nvidia, you're going to have to go all the way to Best Buy to get one. And I hope you live in the United States, because to my knowledge, Best Buy is not all around the globe. So hope you weren't planning on getting one of those Founders Edition cards if you don't live near a Best Buy. Anyway, so what I'm getting at here is that it was really, really hard to get the 3080, 3090. We all know that, and there's a lot of reasons why. One reason was huge amounts of demand. The 30 series was a massive jump and was well marketed, maybe a little too well marketed because some of the actual independent reviews maybe took a little of the thunder out when they didn't quite match up to some of the benchmarks that Nvidia had been touting in their own materials. But still, really incredible increase in performance compared to the Nvidia's 20 series. So people were rightfully very excited to get one. Lots of people tried to get one and couldn't. So demand was a huge part of that. And for a lot of people, it felt like a paper launch. Now, a paper launch is a little different than just having trouble getting one. In a paper launch, we would be implying that Nvidia didn't really manufacture very many cards. And the more people have looked into this, and the more I've researched it, the more I think that actually Nvidia did supply a reasonable number of cards. There have been a lot of people from board partners and retail stores saying that they actually did receive a reasonable number of cards for a normal graphic card launch, but just that the supply just was nowhere even remotely close to the demand. The demand was astronomical compared to a normal card launch. I don't think it's fair to say that the 30 series had a paper launch, but it is fair to say that it had huge supply problems. And I think that's where we're going to possibly run into the same kind of issues for AMD's launch of Big Navi. Why would we run into those same kinds of issues? Well, one of the problems was bots, right? So people program bots. I think one of the bots was designed, that a lot of people were using was designed like for buying shoes, like sneakers. I don't know. Because I guess they're in a lot of other markets, a lot of other product launches, it's pretty normal for scalpers to program bots to buy up all the stock as soon as it becomes available on the online retailer and then scalp it on eBay or other type sites. People applied that a lot more to this graphics card launch than I think we're used to. And then apparently MSI got in on that themselves, or at least people working under the umbrella of MSI, a subsidiary. I did a little video on that. Maybe I'll link it up here. You can look at my channel. That looked bad for MSI, but let's not get distracted with that. Okay, so one part of the problem, huge demand. Another part of the problem, bots and scalpers. And so far, I don't know if we have any reason to believe that that's not going to also be an issue for Nvidia. Will we still have a huge demand? Well, why did we have a huge demand for the Nvidia cards? One thing was the performance, and it's looking, all signs point to AMD having a monster GPU here as well. Whether or not it meets, beats, or slightly falls short of the 3080 or 3090, it's still a massively well-performing card. And in addition to just being great performance, it's also likely to be priced well. AMD doesn't tend to price themselves above Nvidia. They'll be at or below, so I don't think cost is going to reduce the demand on these things. And why else? Why might we have a huge demand? Well, there's a big elephant in the room that not everybody's talking about, but there's a global pandemic going on, and a lot of people are quarantined at home. And have you just looked at what's happened with the general market for, gaming? Gaming in just everywhere, consoles, PC gaming, PC parts, all sorts of things are selling out or just selling record numbers because more people are stuck at home, and gaming is a great thing to do. And maybe you're not going to be spending your money on a big vacation like you normally would. You're going to be spending your money on gaming stuff or PC stuff or just stuff around your house. But the point is, the world is in a different sort of market right now than it normally is. So comparing this graphics card launch to previous ones doesn't make any sense when it's trying to predict the amount of demand, because this graphics card launch is just different. The world is a different place right now. People are buying things in different ways, have different sorts of demands, and allocating different percentages of their normal monthly income towards things like gaming than they normally would. I'm hoping I've convinced you now that AMD is still going to have crazy high demand. That's not going to be that different compared to Nvidia. Even if it is different, it's still going to be crazy high. Are we just doomed to another supply issue? Well, we do have some hope. Apparently, Frank Azor, somebody, I think he's the AMD gaming chief architect or something like that. I'll put it up over here to be sure. He answered a person's tweet a while back. So after the bad Nvidia launch, there was a person upset with not being able to get their 3090 card. I think it was a 3090. Again, I'll have it up here. And he made a $10 bet that AMD would also be a paper launch. Well, Frank Azor replied that he'd take those $10, right? So implying that he was confident that AMD would not be a paper launch. But again, there's a difference between paper launch and not meeting demand. Paper launch implies we just aren't really supplying very many cards, whereas you could supply a record number of cards, and if you have a record amount of demand, you're still not going to meet that demand, even if you have a huge supply. Is there anything else that would affect AMD's ability to supply and meet this demand? Let's compare another difference between Nvidia and AMD on this GPU launch. So Nvidia went with a Samsung 8nm process for producing their cards. Now, I'm not an engineer or anything. I don't know all the details of this, but basically that means they're partnering with Samsung to actually create the wafers of chips that then turn into the GPUs, and you need to get a certain supply and yield out of that to supply your GPUs, right? Now, AMD is not using the Samsung, I can speak guys, is not using the Samsung 8nm process. They're using the is it TSMC, TCMS? I forget that one. And they're using a 7nm plus something or other architecture. And in addition to that, possibly being a little bit smaller, giving better power yields and possibly helping out with their performance, it's also just a different process that might have better yields. And if it does, that could help them actually try to meet demand at launch. So where do I actually fall with all of this? I think that no matter what, they are going to sell out day one, but it would be nice if a higher percentage of people actually are able to get them. AMD seems pretty confident. Taking that $10 bet, I don't think you'd do that if you felt like you had a supply problem. So I think AMD is going to have a large supply of cards, but I think we're still going to have absolutely record-setting demand for them, especially if their performance lives up to what these leaks are leading us us to believe. And so I think we still might have trouble actually getting one, but a higher percentage of people will. But hey, these are just my thoughts. I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments, and I hope you guys have an excellent day.